Shares of SoftBank soared 15% on Friday, only a day after the Japanese investment fund posted earnings that beat analysts' expectations. The company posted its first quarterly profit following 4 quarters of losses, thanks to gains at its Vision fund. That's a venture capital vehicle. For the December quarter, SoftBank's net income was $6.36 billion, far exceeding the LSEG estimates of 196.5 billion yen. It's bolstering the performance of the Nikkei, which has just hit fresh 34-year highs. And this comes after Bank of Japan's Governor Kazuo Ueda said that easy monetary policy will persist, even if the BOJ scraps its negative interest rate policy. For more on this now, let's go to bring in Jamil Ahmad in Dubai. He's chief analyst at GTC. Thank you for being with us, Jamil. So the upbeat news about SoftBank comes at a time where the Japanese economy very much remains in the spotlight, with the latest Bank of Japan statements just days ago as well. The Nikkei has also touched benchmarks not seen since the early 1990s. I mean, what is the impact there of SoftBank and the BOJ on the Japanese benchmark stock index?
Ludovika, what we're seeing is overall earnings seasons continues to impress, whether that's in the United States or other jurisdictions. SoftBank particularly, it was the best earnings for 4 years, really smashed expectations. You saw that 15% move higher in the SoftBank shares early on Friday morning as well. Essentially, with the Bank of Japan, what's really helping the Nikkei here is that although the Bank of Japan might be expected to start normalizing policy, and I mean bringing interest rates back towards a higher level, they're not going to do so anytime soon. At the same point, that's encouraging investors to go towards the Nikkei. And what's also happened in Nikkei is that in the United States, with the Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, Bank of England, while everybody was expecting a lower interest rate environment in 2024, it's not happening anytime soon. And that's creating a rally for world markets overall.
And let's speak about companies as well for a minute. It is not just SoftBank that has beat expectations, with the same narrative consistent in the United States. In fact, inspiring the S&P 500 to briefly touch 5,000 points for the first time in history. What is your opinion on corporate earnings in Japan and also the United States?
5,000 in the S&P 500 was a magical level, and now we finally touched it, although it was briefly overnight. I think when you look at the earnings seasons that are coming out of the United States overall, we've got so much optimism that we're actually heading towards a soft landing rather than a hard landing. Corporations are continuing to handle the high interest rate environment very well, despite some concerning signals about job losses to come late in 2024. We have not seen a strong as of a quarter of this for corporate earnings since 1994. And so far, more than 80% of those companies on the S&P 500 that have released their earnings so far, again, that's more than 300 companies, actually are showing stronger than expected earnings. That compares to pretty much an average of 67%. And that's continuing to really attract investors towards world markets. And that can continue. But I would say the elephant in the room is the US interest rate policy and the Federal Reserve. If they do not cut interest rates anytime soon, we could see some profit taken on world markets as a result of investors really pricing in as much good news as they come when it comes to lower central bank interest rates.
Interesting. So potentially some profit taking. Right, Jamil Ahmad, thank you very much for your analysis. And now let's go to other top stories from around the world. Turkey's industrial production has expanded for a 7th consecutive month in December as companies continue to secure new business. Output increased by 1.6% from the same month last year, higher than what analysts had expected. Manufacturing activity has bounced back after twin earthquakes hit the country in February 2023. Nissan Motor shares have plunged as much as 11.7% in what analysts say is their biggest sell-off since 2001. The automaker lowered its sales volume forecast for this financial year amid worries about its business in China. The sell-off wiped around $1.8 billion off the stock's market value. Despite the revised sales outlook, Nissan maintained its annual operating profit forecast of $4.15 billion. And HSBC and Google Cloud announced the launch of a new partnership aimed at financing and supporting companies providing climate mitigation. The partnership comes as many corporates, including Google and HSBC, face the realities of trying to meet their 2030 net zero climate goals on time. Under terms of the partnership, HSBC will look to provide financing to companies cherry-picked by Google.